It is frustrating to no end to really try to dive deeper into what can we do to have a healthy relationship with food. What makes it even worse is when we have daughters that are looking up to us and patterning their behaviors off of ours. And if we have issues that we have unresolved, whether it's a poor relationship with food or with our body image, it is going to be passed on. So what do we do and how do we move forward from here? All right, friends, there is so much to unpack here. And I just want to start off by saying that if you personally struggle with a poor relationship with food or with eating healthy, it's not the end of the road, right? There's so much that we can do from here. There's so much we can do to support your body, support your overall health. And sometimes it can just feel really frustrating because it's something we have to do all the time. And when we try to be intentional about eating healthier, then we might swing that pendulum too far and go towards more control or even stir up some things that we've struggled with in our past, whether that's an eating disorder or just disordered eating in general. And so this can be a really tricky place to navigate. So I just want to say first and foremost, if this is you, I see you. I help women with this all the time, but it is tricky. We really need to address some of those other issues that are contributing, right? Sometimes there's woundedness from our childhood that we really need to go back and spend some time with the Lord and allow for Him to heal so that we can do a simple, mundane thing like eat healthy food and put it into our bodies and let it nourish us without having these mental things that come up and kind of go haywire for us, right? So let's talk about if we're seeing this in our home with our children. Maybe you have a daughter that has learned this very similar behavior of having a poor relationship with food or with her body image. And so you see her being very particular, very picky about what she will put into her body, how she will do it, perhaps even talking about things like, if I eat too much fat, I will get fat. And so what do we do from here? How do we help them move forward? Because obviously when we see things that our children exhibit traits that we have given them, it speaks a lot louder to us than if we just saw it or know of it in ourselves. And I think part of that is because of that impact of that mirror image. We can almost begin to see ourselves as other people see us. Ideally, we're seeing ourselves as the Lord sees us. But if these things are being brought up, if we're having a greater awareness of what is going on, then that's a good. It's being brought to the light. And when things are brought to the light, that means we can address them, we can move forward, and God willing, we can heal from them. So that's the first thing I want to say. If you're realizing this for the first time, I just want you to praise the Lord for where you are at. I want you to praise Him that He is helping you to see that something has to change, because that is the place that He wants us to be so that we can take those steps to move forward. So then after that, we start to navigate this space of how do we help cultivate a healthier relationship with food? And this can be tricky. There's a lot of things out there about food freedom and eating in such a way that doesn't trigger these things in us. However, sometimes they throw out the window too much of this. It doesn't matter what you're eating. It just matters your relationship with food. And although that's very important, and that is something that we need to spend time on and move forward through, it is very important what you're feeding and fueling your body. It is critically important. And we really need to dive deeper into helping your body to be able to be nourished in such a way that doesn't trigger these mental things that you have with this poor relationship with food. So when we're trying to do that, the very first thing I would say is just take some baby steps. Find and identify what are the things that really set you off. For some people, it's meal planning. For some people, it is this desire to look at what's on their plate and take some off. For other people, it's really being intentional about, I can't eat that because that's not quote unquote healthy. Right? Whether it's because of lies that we've chosen to believe, maybe something like fat is bad. If I eat fat, I will get fat. We need to really kind of spend some time here to figure out what are some of those triggers, because then we can kind of start initially by working around those triggers, right? So say, for example, fats is really hard for you. Well, if we just first initially kind of take a step back and say, okay, what are some foods that I feel comfortable eating and they actually have healthy fats in them? Maybe nuts. Maybe you've always perceived nuts as a healthy snack. Great. Nuts have healthy fats in them. It's not like slathering a bunch of butter on your food, but you're still getting the things that your body needs for optimal functioning. So how can we plan out snacks that we have on hand, meals that we're going to grab for grabbing and go, and be sure that it still has a good protein source, some good healthy fats, and some good healthy carbohydrates? And then we can kind of think through some of these things. Okay, I know intuitively that fats don't make me fat. If I eat them, I won't get fat, but it scares me, right? Maybe that's where you are. And so if that's the place, then what I would encourage you to do is spend some research, spend some time researching what is it about fats and that my body needs so much from them. There's this really great book. It is called Eat Fat, Get Thin. That might be a great place to start. It might be, really spending some time researching what are healthy fats and how could you incorporate them in what you're already cooking. It's not so much about suppressing the control, because this does tend to be a control tendency when we're worried and we're trying to eliminate fats because we're anxious that that's going to make us fat. Instead, if we can empower, we can educate ourselves and then see how that would translate to the plate. We also need to spend some time, and this is really where we want to deep dive into what are the things in my past, what was happening in my life when I first started to have these control issues with food or this poor relationship with food, and how can I really spend some time with the Lord and heal from that little t trauma or big T trauma, and allow for myself to have a healthier relationship with food while also passing that on to my children. Sometimes we think that by the time our kids are teens or in their 20s, that it's too late, that whatever changes we make, it's too late for them. We should have done better when they were little. And it's really unfair to say that to ourselves, right? Because there's nothing that we could do now about then. All we have is this moment, and this is where grace lives. And so if the Lord has chosen this moment to reveal this to us, that this is a problem, that this is something we need to dive deeper into, this is something we need to heal from, He can also use that to bless your adult children or your older children, because they will see the difference in you and in how you're relating to food. Now, I want to speak to this a minute too. Sometimes there is a overemphasis on eating really, really healthy and really, really clean. And I think a lot of times this might stem from a place of either not feeling good if we don't eat ideal ingredients, or from a problem in the past that we've had with an eating disorder. So regardless of which one that is, I think it's really important to spend some time here. Again, always thinking, what is the fear? What is the worry? If I go to a friend's house and they're making dinner and I want to break bread with them because we are communal beings and that's so good for our friendship, it's good for our relationships, it's beautiful to have something to gather around like a table. How can I take those concrete steps to be able to engage in that environment, to be able to eat with other people? So thinking through, is there something that if I ate, I would feel unwell? For me personally, I have this autoimmune condition where I get sores on my tongue if I eat things that I react to. And they usually last for about 3 or 4 days after I eat something that I've reacted to. And that's very unpleasant. It's very undesirable. And so because of that, I will, if somebody invites us over for dinner, either ask them what they're going to prepare in order to know, should I bring something for myself? Maybe it's a side dish that could double as my main dish, or to ask them, if they're making burgers, for example. I don't eat gluten or dairy. Burgers are generally not a problem because usually people don't put cheese on all of the burgers. Or I could just ask, would you mind making a few burgers without cheese for me so that I can eat one, since I am dairy free. It can always be a little uncomfortable, especially if it's a new friendship. But that's why I really like to have that in my back pocket of, I can ask them, what are you making? So I can figure out something to go along with it and then bring along a side dish that would be adequate for my, my main dish. So that's one way you can navigate that. Now, if it's more of a control thing, from a history you've had of an eating disorder or whatever it is, kind of more down that vein, then I would really encourage you to spend some time there. Spend some time in that place of, but what if once every 2 weeks I ate with a friend? What would that do to my body? And how can I mentally, emotionally move through any reservations I have of what that's going to do to my body? Because the reality is that our bodies are incredibly adaptable. Our bodies can do a wonderful job of being good clearinghouses of a lot of that crud that might be in the food. Right? So if you went out to Chick-fil-A on a road trip and that's not your normal, you usually don't eat fast food, but you're out and you're traveling and you need something, by all means, we should be able to do that, even if it's not the cleanest, most beautiful food, because our bodies are so adaptable and they're so good at being able to clean those things out. Now, like I said, if you have some condition or some inability to break those things down, then by all means, be really diligent about packing your own food. But this is more about relationship with food. And if you're just noticing that mental, emotional block, then that's why I really encourage you to dive deeper into this from here. If you want to know what it looks like to work with somebody that can help walk you through this path and walk alongside you in your health journey, sign up for a free discovery call with me. I would love to talk about what's been going on with you in your health journey and how we can get you moving forward for lasting health and wholeness.